Before we go any further on the guided tour, I feel it's probably good to talk about myself and what qualifies me to be a tour guide into this stuff. So my name is David Hansen. I am a person-centred counsellor and psychotherapist. I am accredited by the BACP, which is a professional body which upholds standards in the profession in the United Kingdom. Before I trained to be a therapist, I actually trained to be a teacher. I did a PGCE and an education studies degree with a view to becoming a primary school teacher. I actually came across Carl Rogers while training to be a teacher, though. Carl Rogers is the main person in the person-centred world. He developed the approach. And I came across his ideas in the context of education. And his ideas, along with a few others, made it very hard for me to get on in a primary school in the UK. I really bought into the idea of child-centred education, or democratic education, as it's often also called. That made it hard for me to get on, so I backed away from that before very long and decided to retrain as a therapist. I qualified in 2017 and got my accreditation in 2021. Accreditation, in case you're wondering, is with the professional body, the BACP, and it's an option that you have a few years after qualifying, where essentially you jump through a few more hoops, write a few assignments to show that you know what you're talking about, and if you do that to their satisfaction, you then get to call yourself accredited, and that's basically what that means. Since qualifying, I've worked in a range of jobs as a therapist, with children, with teenagers, with adults, with lots of different presentations and levels of risk. I've also managed a mental health service for a period, and I suppose most relevantly, for the purpose of this role as your guided tour, I was a person-centred counselling teacher or tutor for 4 years as well. I was supporting students on their level 2 certificates, their level 3 certificates and their level 4 diplomas, right through to qualification from right at the beginning of their journey. I've become a big believer in the idea that you learn something to a greater depth if you have to break it down and teach it to someone. And I really found that to be the case. I found that teaching this stuff for 4 years between 2019 and 2023 really embedded it fully in me. And I became quite, I think, decent at being able to explain these things in a way that is accessible and understandable. And I think that's what set me up more than any one other thing to develop in this course. Nowadays, I work in private practice, seeing clients remotely from across the UK. I also work for a mental health crisis service in conjunction with the NHS, which offers a crisis house in the West Yorkshire area for people who are in mental health crisis, but it's been decided could do with a more homely environment rather than a hospital. The service is a residential one. People can stay for a few days, sometimes up to a week, and it is an alternative to a hospital, and it involves offering person-centred support for the people there. So there we go, that's an overview of my relevant experience, which I hope you agree sets me up to be offering a course like this.